Hey, what's up everybody? In this video tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how to create the exploded assembly with parts list drawing that we're going to need for our construction block project. So the first thing you're going to have to do is if you haven't watched the previous video tutorial, it's going to be showing you how to create the cover page, individual part working drawings, how to fully dimension them. But in that video, it's also going to be showing you how to download um, our custom title block and then how to upload that in the Fusion. So you're definitely going to need that for this one. So make sure you're watching that other video tutorial first. But with this one, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go out there and find our simple construction block assembly. Okay, and once we find it, we're going to go ahead and open that up. And once we open that up, we're probably going to be seeing our animation stuff from last time, all right? And this is what we were using to create our two videos and then also to create this exploded view. And that's what view we're going to be using for this next drawing. So instead of being in the animation environment or the design environment, what we're going to do is come down to drawing and we're going to pick on from animation this time and not from design. Okay, so our template, we're going to come out here and use a title block. If you can't find it, you can always go to Browse, jump out of the LTHS IED project, back into it, and now within title block, we can find our title block to use and just hit select. So now we go ahead and say OK. We can see our title block, and we can now see that exploded view is coming in here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and say I want to make this shaded. I'm going to go ahead and keep this right there at 1 to 4. I'm going to place it, and now I'm going to pick on OK. All right, so the issue that we're going to have right now, we're dealing with 11 by 8.5 sheets. So this is an A-size sheet. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening here. Not only are we going to have this exploded view, we're going to have all these balloons around it referencing part numbers. We're going to have a big parts list up here. And then just a couple gimme views I like to give people are the assembly, looking at it from a couple different views. So it's going to get really crowded here real quick. So I'm actually going to jump over and make this a B-size sheet. All right, so if I come to sheet settings, I can see my sheet size right now is an A size. It's 11 by 8.5. If I hit the icon with the pencil, this is going to switch us to a B size, which is 17 by 11, and I'm going to say OK. So now we can see our sheet size is much bigger. So I'm going to come here to my exploded view. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to up this to like 1 to 2. Okay. Now, if for some reason this view is looking a little bit goofy, I'm going to go ahead and close out on this. Okay. If this view is not looking correct to you, it's in the wrong orientation, just remember you can always double click it, come up here to orientation, and you can start changing it into a different isometric view. All right, so in my case, I'm liking the way this looks. So now I can go ahead and continue on with the next part. So what we're going to do is we're going to create something called balloons. We also call them callouts as well. So up here, you can see balloon. It just has a number and a little balloon or a bubble. We're going to pick on that, and now I'm going to come around to all my parts and start attaching these balloons, okay, and it's going to reference what the actual part number is. It might not make sense now, but it will here in just a minute when we see the parts list. So the rule on balloons is that balloons point to, they never go through. The other thing is that, your balloon is going to always be in diagonal in nature. It's never going to be horizontal or vertical because that can blend in with the actual part. It makes it confusing. So always make sure that they are in diagonal appearance. And then the last thing is I always come to a corner of a part. So I'm going to come here and just place in my balloons, making sure that these are going to stay, like I said, in the diagonal orientation. Maybe I'll bring this one down here. It's still diagonal. I can take this one over to here. That's diagonal. Okay, this is diagonal. And I'm just going to place all these balloons around it. Okay, so we have all of our balloons on our parts. Once again, they're all diagonal, so we're looking good. Okay, so the next part of this is we're going to come up here and you're going to see this table. I'm going to pick table, and that table is going to read the view that I have here, and it's going to start bringing all the parts over. I'm going to just bury that and anchor that at the top right-hand corner of our title block. So what I like to do first is I like to come over here, pick on the parts list, and just grabbing these grips, I'm going to go ahead and just pull this out. I'm going to spread this out just a little bit. All right, so right now we can see that description is doing absolutely nothing for us. So what I'm going to tell you to do is just hover in here over the top, and you're going to see how it's going to highlight that. Once you see the highlight, double click it, And now you're going to see that you have the ability to change all the attributes that go into your parts list. So I'm going to come in here to description. I'm going to uncheck that, but at the same time, I like the fact that I can see what its mass is or what its weight is. So I'm going to go ahead, check that, and I'm going to say close. So this is what I always tell my students to do, is to come in here and pick on this and now start adjusting this, okay, where it's only going to be one single line of text. Same here with part number. I'm going to pull this across. Same here with quantity. I'm going to pull this across where it's just going to be single lines of text. So I can see my part numbers can still come across. I can back that in until it goes into what's called word wrapping, but I can bring it back to a single line of text. Now I can bring my quantity over, and now I can bring my item number over as well. So everything is going to be, it's going to be really compact. We're not going to be using up as much drawing space. All right, so we can see item numbers here. That's going to be referencing the balloons. So taking a look here, my blue arch block, that's item number 1. All right, and that's true. Okay, see the part number, it's actually the name, the material it's made out of, and the mass. All right, so if you open this up, all right, and you're not seeing any sort of mass here, it's because you never applied material to the actual part, and that was something we were doing early on when we were creating those parts. All right, so just a couple views. Now, I'm not going to say this is correct or this is standard. This is just something I like to do. Since this is the exploded view and we're not seeing the trail origins and how this slides together, I always like to give people that view showing how it looks when it's assembled. So I'm going to come up here and go to my base view. That's going to bring my assembly up, and I'm just going to switch this over to my northeast isometric, and I'm going to match the same scale that I use for my exploded view. So it's all the same size parts, okay? Making sure that this is shaded, I'm going to say okay. So not am I only just going to give them this one view, I also want them to see the back of it as well. So I'm going to come in, go to base view. I'm going to switch this to shaded, and I'm also going to switch this to 1 to 2. And then let's see what else. Oh, we got to switch this over to northwest isometric. So it's going to be showing the back of it. I'm going to place that in as well and say okay. All right, and just that quick, we have our exploded assembly view with parts list. It's going to be describing how this would come apart, all the reference balloons, what the part's name is, what the quantity, the material, the mass, and then we also get to see a preview of how this would look like if it were assembled. So there you go. That's how you create that drawing.